Okay, so hi, Rob. So lovely to have you here for the climate crisis design studio for conversations. If you could please introduce yourself and your role and job title, that would be great.
Yeah, sure, thank you. So my name is Dr. Rob Storrar, and I'm an associate professor in glacial geomorphology, and I'm also the head of research in the Department of the Natural and Built Environment. So my background is in glaciology, which I still do, and then part of my job is to look after research across architecture, built environment, and geography, environment and planning.
Excellent, thank you. I mean, obviously I know yourself because I'm a PhD student here, but it's pretty lovely to hear like your research focus and the multitude of things that you are doing at Sheffield Hallam. Could you tell us a little bit about what you are working on in relation to climate change right now?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give a first answer in my head of research role, and then I'll give a little brief answer in my role as a glaciologist as well, which is obviously very closely connected with climate change. So one of the things that I've been focusing on since I took on the role of head of research in MBE is to develop a new research centre for SHU to address the climate emergency and the sustainability agenda. So we've done a lot of work over the last year or so to set up a centre which is in the process of launching at the moment, called the Centre for Sustainability and Climate. And the aim of that centre is to draw together a lot of the expertise around the university on climate change in all its guises. So both from the kind of the science side of climate change through to the social response and social policy side of climate change and everything in between, as well as the sustainability agenda, so how we can live as a society in a more sustainable way. So the job of that centre is to bring people together to work towards this sort of common problem, really. So that's a piece of work that's taken up a lot of time over the last year, something that's really exciting, as we can hopefully get a lot of momentum with some really exciting projects there. The other kind of half of my academic life is as a glaciologist. So before COVID, I would most years go off somewhere in the Arctic, flying drones over glaciers to measure how ice is responding to climate change, and also how water is interacting with ice. So as the climate warms, more ice melts and it produces more liquid water. So I'm really interested in how water and ice interact in the context of climate change and how they might change in the future. So I've kind of got these two different hats, I guess, in terms of what I do.
That's really exciting. Wow, I have to say I wasn't aware of the full extent of like the work that you are doing. That's really interesting. I knew a little bit that you have loads of drones and always like using them for your research, but that's really interesting. When do you think the center will open, and how would that what other people are involved, and how would that support the students?
Yeah, so the centre is kind of launching in an informal way now, really. So we're just starting to put together some materials for a website and some media in response to the COP26 conference, which is going on at the moment. So we're trying to get some material out to show that Sheffield Hallam is engaging with the climate emergency and the agenda of research around climate change. So it's kind of very new at the moment. We haven't launched the website yet, but things are starting to happen. In terms of who we're working with, the director of the centre is going to be Professor Peter Wells, who was previously the Associate Dean for Research for our college. So Peter's stepping in to take the reins of the centre as it launches and to give it some direction and steer. So Peter's worked closely with our department for quite a few years, so he's very familiar with a lot of the work that we do, from architecture to construction to geography and so on. And then in terms of students, we hope that the centre is going to be a sort of a hub for lots of activity around climate change and sustainability. So a lot of that will be developing networks within the university, so bringing academics from our department, but also from other departments as well, because there's lots of people working, because it's a big multifaceted area. There's lots of people working on different issues, which are sort of connected.
Exactly.
And I think one of the strengths of the centre will be that ability to get lots of people together with those different bits of experience and skills, to work towards this common goal, and hopefully we can get lots of people involved. And in terms of students, that's very much what we do in the Department of the Natural Environment, is really heavily involving, because of the nature of what we do, we're looking at natural and built environments. So the climate change is affecting all of those environments and will affect them in different ways in the future. And sustainability, not just in terms of climate change, but in terms of social elements, lots of other things about how people interact with one another, how they live and respond to the environment. So we're hoping that the courses are really embedded within the centre, and that the courses will draw on a lot of the expertise of staff in the centre as well. And in the future, we might try to, for example, develop a master's course on sustainability. And so hopefully it's something that students can engage with. Another thing to add actually is that we hope to do some projects with staff and students, research projects, so involving students with staff research as well, which we've done in the department previously, but that will be connected quite closely with the centre. So hopefully students will be able to get involved in some of that staff research in the sustainability agenda.
Wow, that sounds really, really exciting. I mean, there is so much scope for collaboration, like you said, between the different departments as well, and to bring students studying different things together. I think that sounds really interesting. Almost want to be a student again to be part of it. Oh, fantastic. And well, my last question, I suppose, for today would be, what do you consider to be the most important issue in relation to climate change for Sheffield right now?
That's a good question. So I'm going to have my head of research hat on rather than my glaciologist hat on, because we've not got any glaciers in Sheffield, and we're not close enough to the sea for sea level rise to directly impact us. I think for Sheffield, it's the way that the region responds to the climate emergency, and also with respect to a lot of the inequalities that we have in society, because we can't address one without addressing the other. So I think tackling regional and local inequality at the same time as the Sheffield City region is developing its sort of climate policy should go hand in hand. So kind of having I think a steering role in that is really important. And things that we've seen recently in the media, like the Insulate Britain protests, as far as I'm aware, I'm no housing expert, but the UK housing stock, I'm quite aware, is not in great shape in terms of insulation and heating things. So I think in terms of individuals living in Sheffield, that's a really key issue at the moment, and one that is obviously in the media quite a lot at the moment as well.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, as an architect myself, as well as a researcher, that is something that really interests me as well. And I think collectively we can do more for our futures. I mean, we could work better together, and through collaboration, I think we could hopefully have a somewhat more positive outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is about working together, isn't it? It's about involving everybody and making sure that what we're doing fits, what everybody needs.
Exactly.
Rather than a perhaps more selfish approach that people may have taken in the past, not necessarily individually, but as a society, that leads to inequality.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I could not agree more. Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time. It is really valuable to gain some knowledge and wisdom from you, and we're looking forward to the lecture as well. So thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you.